Tubies, it's Thursday here on Pagan Perspective, and this week we have an interesting topic. Before I get into it though, I will say things work in mysterious ways, because I've just come to do this topic tonight. It's actually Wednesday tonight, and I'm filming it before tomorrow because otherwise I won't have enough time to film and upload on the same evening. But I've literally just had a message sent to me in my inbox asking me to do a video on exactly the same topic. So here you go. It's on Pagan Perspective, but nevertheless it's my opinion on the same topic. For those of you who don't know what it's about, either read the title or read the question in the box below, which I will put there as usual, along with a link to my personal channel for anybody who's interested. And I'll just get right on with the questions. So the first one is from Celtic Mystery Girl 17, asking how to write your own spells and rituals, and then the second question is about ideas on what to do for your first spell or ritual and whether it's a good idea to go solo or work in a group. So the first question then, how to write your own spell or ritual. Now, this is something that will take a lot of reading before you go into it. But having said that, many of us, when we're young and we're getting into that whole witchcraft scene, but we're not really sure what it means, we do things that could be considered spells in like realistic terms now, looking back on it, but that things that we didn't necessarily think were spells at the time. For instance, a friend and I were interested in witchcraft for a long time before I found Wicca and paganism and, you know, witchcraft as an actual serious practice. So we used to do, you know, love spells or beauty potions and that kind of thing, where we would mix different like bath lotions and that kind of thing and put flower petals in it to attract love and that kind of thing. But at the time, we weren't really taking ourselves serious. We were very young, we didn't know anything about it, but that would be considered a spell. If you are more learned then, and you know a little bit about actual, you know, proper spell casting from a serious point of view, not from a little kid playing around in bath lotion kind of point of view, you know that that's a very similar thing. You know, you gather your ingredients, you have what you want to say, you have a purpose with what you want to create the spell for, and then you go into it. But it's easiest if you do some reading around the subject first. If you have a look at some spell books, have a look at some books that teach you how to write spells as well. A really good one actually is Instant Magic by Christopher Penzac. He tells you how to make very simple spells and very simple rituals that either don't need any tools at all, because instant magic is actually aimed specifically at creating spells on the go, and how to induce that state of consciousness that you need for spell casting by using triggers and that kind of thing. So Instant Magic's a great book, but it actually tells you how to go about writing your own spells after that. Scott Cunningham does a very similar thing. He gives you like a basic layout, and then it's up to you to like make up your own words, make up your own intent. So if you read different books, you'll see that they all basically have the same structure. You have to have a goal. You know, what is it that you want to do the spell or ritual for? Is it to draw something to you? Is it to get rid of something, like a banishing spell? Is it a ritual purely for celebration? Are you just doing it to celebrate the Sabbath, to say thank you for the goddess? That kind of thing. So write down your intent. And then secondly, you want to think about what kind of things you want to use. Are you going to use herbs? Are you going to use incense? Are you going to use crystals? Whatever you have to hand. And obviously the great debate is about whether you do need tools or not. Instant magic, like I said, is one form of spell writing where you don't need anything, or where what you do need is incredibly minimalistic. And spells can be very simple if you have the right intent. You don't really need anything to go along with spell writing, but if you feel you want to use something to add energy to your spell, to keep you focused on the point of your spell, then you need to think about what you want to use, what you're most comfortable with, either what you have on you. Like I have quite a lot of crystals but not very many herbs, so I'm more tempted to use crystals in a spell because I know I have them available, and I have a choice when I use crystals. But if you're either minimalist or broke and you just generally don't have the resources, You don't have to use anything, but you just do have to be very specific about your intent, which is the most important thing in a spell. Then you need to think about whether you want to write any words, whether you want to use a pre-existing spell, whether you want it to rhyme. A lot of people are kind of anal about making their spells rhyme. I do think that it helps for two reasons. One is because when you rhyme a spell, you take longer to think about the words that you want to use, so it makes you think about the intent more, which is the most important thing. Two, if it's rhyming, it generally has more energy as well, in my opinion, but not everybody agrees, so decide whether you want it to rhyme or not, and then write it down. If you can't remember it during the actual ritual, if you've written a lot of words, for instance, then write it down and take it with you into the circle so you don't lose your place, because if you forget where you are in a spell or a ritual, it's very embarrassing, it puts you off, and you just generally lose all of the energy that you've raised in the first place. So then once you've got your words, you've got your intent, you've got what you want to use, then gather everything together in one place where you're going to cast your circle, and then, you know, do your basic circle casting technique. If you don't have one, either use one in a book, or, you know, again, do a lot of research, look at different people's views. There are a couple of videos on YouTube, actually, where people show you a ritual, where they've filmed a ritual and made it public. There aren't very many, because not a lot of people like to share their own personal ritual work, but there are a few open covens who have filmed various rituals and circles and that kind of thing. So check a few of them out, see what they did, see what words and actions they used, that kind of thing. And then it's just about experimentation. And this sort of goes into the second question then, about your first spell or ritual, and whether to go solo, whether to go into a group, and that kind of thing. So for me personally, I started off solo, but that was because I didn't have a choice. I didn't know any other witches. I still don't know any other covens, and I don't have any like resources like groups or anything like that to go to. Although having said that, I have found one which is a little bit further away that my boyfriend will be taking me to on the weekend for a Maybon celebration, so I'll let you know how that goes. So I've never experienced group work before. I've never experienced circle work with anybody but myself. So I basically know that what I do works for me, but what other people might do might make me uncomfortable, or it might be, you know, very different from what I've done. So it's up to you. A lot of groups that hold open circles or open rituals where they invite new people to come and experience their rituals, you don't have to take part in them. So you can just be present in their circle, or just be present even outside of the circle if you don't actually want to join in, and you can just witness their ritual. You don't have to say any of the words if you don't want to, you don't have to take part in any spell casting if you don't want to, but a lot of groups that are open to, you know, newcomers and that kind of thing, they will give you the choice about whether you want to join in or not. So if you could find something like that locally to you, you could see how somebody else does it, you could feel the energy that they raise, and then decide for yourself whether that's something that you'd like to do on your own, or whether that's something that's, you know, it's far too out there for you, it's far too busy, you know, it's too this, that or the other. So it's a good idea to experience other people, but not many people have that opportunity. So research is really the best thing that I can say. Look how other people do it, see what words other people say, and don't be afraid to write things down. For a very long time, I had to write down the exact ritual structure, the exact words that I would say at each corner, because I wasn't comfortable improvising, which is what I do most of the time now. I just let the words come to me from a place of knowing, from a place of familiarity, because to me now, calling the elements, calling the god and goddess, calling the watchtowers, it's something that I do, and then because I recognise that energy that I work with, I speak from the heart now, and the words are different every single time I cast a circle. But for a newbie, write everything down, or type it out and print it off, or use one that's online if you don't want to write your own, or you don't know how to write your own. There's nothing wrong with using other people's rituals if they've made them available to you. A lot of books have ritual and circle format as well, including Scott Cunningham, so just try things out, write it down, take it into the circle with you, and experiment with different techniques. And that is everything that I have to tell you on circle and rituals. Blessed be.